Here we are finally. We're right here, right?
Right
What?
here.
The music keep like stopping, or was that my connection?
No, it
Yeah,
was ours too. It's
and
been doing it to me lately.
my intro music's not playing. It shows that it's playing, but I don't hear it.
But it does it. Yeah, and then you just I that happened a couple videos ago that I did, and then I'm just sitting there looking goofy, picking my teeth and everything, thinking that the intro's playing, and then I look on YouTube and it's like, nope, it's just me picking my teeth and sharing stuff out, and it's supposed to be playing on my end. Looks like it's playing. So thanks a
Can
lot,
can you
StreamYard.
guys hear the
I was
music at
humbled.
all?
I could
Yeah,
hear it,
finally I did.
You
Yeah.
guys,
but it
can you
like
hear the
stopped
music
and
right now
started.
though?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, because I have the normal like intro music playing, and I don't hear it. I've
See,
never
Yeah.
had that happen before.
And we need to add LC to the
I
host
I
list.
also I also noticed that. Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
I
That's
did.
so nice.
Now he
I'm
knows.
so
Great.
grateful to be here with you beautiful human beings. I love you all.
All right,
I
well,
love
let's
you
get
all.
going. I mean, they know who we are, and I'm sure most of them know LC now. But Houston, or how introduce yourself and tell how you want to introduce yourself. Easier
um,
to say.
I am Houston Spore. I grew up in Florida, and I am 7 years in recovery. A little over 7 years into
Woo-hoo.
recovery after about a 20-year addiction to opioids. It started at about 16 to 17 years old. After some severe injuries playing sports, and I am a thick-headed individual. Didn't stop playing until my 20s, and just kind of got caught up in that whole mess. I heard that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oops. I got it to work.
no. So, but you know, when I got into recovery, it was one of the situations of how could I give back? I think that's kind of what we all do. We get in the rooms, and we do the little things to kind of give back in our own little ways. And mine was I got into recovery the year my father passed away, and I wanted to start giving back in a different manner that I think would be befitting to what he saw as good. He was a doctor, always giving back, right? So just kind of started from there, and it's blossomed into some beautiful times of helping many people and keeping myself going in recovery as well.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you grew up like probably 30 minutes from where I grew up. And we have like
Hmm.
mutual family friends, so it's a
We
small
do.
world.
We do. It's a very small room. So thank you
Wow.
all. Yeah, nice to meet you. This is this has been it's been a journey. I started to I start I, like and you my in my bio. I started a foundation a year ago, and um, it's been interesting. Um, you get into you get into the nonprofit world, and it is a different ball game. You hope everybody does well, but that's not always what you see.
Mm.
But we've been very successful with our Narcan distribution and our outside in program, which has helped about 20 people this year either
Wow.
get into some aspect of recovery or treatment. And then the hardest part is with community care, getting individuals put into some semblance of normalcy after they're trying to start their lives back over. That assimilation back into society is so difficult.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
What do you see? And I guess this will be a question that we start with, and I hope you'll get more into your story in just a few minutes. But I guess this is a panel question too. What do you see being one of the biggest hurdles um, to recovery success, or to just getting that foundation going? Do you see people coming fresh in to suffer with the most? I mean, and that can be a question. I mean, both you and
Mhm.
Ashley work really close in the community. I'm interested in that.
There we go. I would, actually, I'll answer first on this because I think it's a multifaceted
Hmm.
response. With the people I see, when I worked jail diversion for some years, and I saw people that were going into county jail in their first felony, right? So they don't understand the life-changing application that it has to their lives, right? So
Mm.
they don't understand that once they get out, that changes the jobs, it changes the way that they're going to be taken in the community, and depending on the community you're living in, what kind of impact is that really going to have, right?
Yeah.
And what I saw is it's just almost that initial realization that their life they had before is now completely different. You
Mm.
know, and it's unfortunate, you know, that you in some areas you can't gain the life you had before, but I think it's putting the people around them. That's what we do. That's what I work on now, is putting people around them, family, some community support, whatever that may be, to say, hey, there are options, you know,
Mm.
to be able to get, you know, life is never the same once you've been an addict. It's just my life is 1,000 times better than it was before, right? Because
Absolutely.
there's so much what I've learned, so
Yeah.
much of what I become, the person, the humility, all the things that go into being in recovery, and,
Mm.
and you learn every day. And I think that's kind of the way I tell people, is that you kind of learn until you hopefully stop breathing, you know, as
Mm.
you keep learning. But to go back on topic, it's really to wrap people around other people that have been through the process,
Mm.
you know, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
every day checking in on them. And sometimes they're not in the right space to be able to move on. You know, everybody's on that spectrum of recovery.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fascinating to watch individuals go through that, especially from where I stand, because I have a propensity to get fully invested, get my hands dirty, and then it comes back sometimes to bite me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But it's worked more times to benefit other individuals and really my own recovery. And
That's
I
nice.
have a propensity to still do it. Ashley can understand that, you know. So
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. I think we're all kind of guilty of that, though. And not really so much. I hate using the word guilty, but I think that we'll all always do that. But I like the attitude that you have, that even though this happens and it may continue to still happen, there's more good that's come out of it than the bad. And you've still planted a seed regardless of, where they go next. So
mhm.
outstanding.
And me and Houston have talked about this. It's like, instead of, we tend to put ourselves out there too much, like to help somebody else, sometimes at the detriment of ourselves or our families. And
Mhm.
sometimes, like, yeah, it's good to help somebody, but that's one of both of us, our flaws, is that we want to help so bad that we forget that there's other people that need us to be just
Oh,
like normal human beings too, and not be out saving the world. So I think that's like, I think that's one of the things I've had to really like latch onto this year. But 2022 through 2023 is that people are like, oh, you're amazing, you're doing all this stuff. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, I missed doing homework with my kids. I missed this, I missed this. Like, I don't feel that amazing because
Yeah.
so it's like, there's definitely sacrifices. And
Yeah. 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 Well, it's great to hear from that professional side too, because we talk and we focus so much on the recovery process. And it's good that we do that. Like, we need to do that for real. But a lot of people that are in the recovery community are now going into work in the addiction and mental
mhm.
health fields. And I think being able to hear from two amazing hearts that are genuinely out in the world, doing all that they can to give of themselves in this service, and hearing the other side of that. So, okay, just like what you just said, I'm people tell me I'm doing so much and I'm this great person, and inside I feel like I'm neglecting, these people to do this. And I think as we see some of ourself in each person that comes along, and I think that once we get this place of success, it's almost like we thought we were the worst of the worst. So it's like, if I can get this, I promise you can too, and I'll show you the way. And I think it does get overwhelming at times. And I appreciate both of you sharing openly from that professional side, because people need to understand that peer support to me is a very tricky situation and a tricky subject. And I think it's valid that we talk about, are people ready at 1 year? you know, just because they feel like they're ready. Are they ready? You know, what's to say?
In my opinion on that is that it depends on the person. I don't think
I
it's the
think so
amount of
too.
time. I think it's an education. Like a lot of people will have 20 years and they don't think they need to learn anything else, and they
Amen.
don't know other pathways, and being a peer is not a sponsor.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least a certified peer or doing it in the field is completely different. And not to knock sponsors, they have their place and they do great things.
Yep.
But it's different, especially when, you know, like when 12-step programs were invented, they weren't invented to be life coaches. Sponsors were not. They were invented to bring people in because it was secret and it was in basements and, you know, like back rooms. And it was like to vet if this person could be trustworthy. Okay, we're vouching for them. That's where it started. So like, I think we have to, there's so much like value to lived experience, but you have to be willing to learn because there's a lot of knowledge that we just don't know just because of our lived experience, because our experience is different than somebody else.
I forgot my bell, but
If you want me to go back to your question earlier, what do I see the most of is the thing that breaks my heart is that there's so much prevention that could be doing, and we're getting prevention wrong. And we're not looking at mental health and assessments. We're not letting people have long enough stays in residential. We're in and out. Like, so I'm telling you the amount of, if we put a fourth of what is needed in prevention, we would save so much money on the back end. In prevention, I'm not saying dare, like I'm saying what happens when your substance use gets a little out of control and you know that you need help, but you haven't gone to jail yet, you haven't lost your family, you haven't done all this stuff. Like, where do you reach out for? Or just
we're reactionary, and that's just, it's instead of, you know, it's a preventative concept that is foreign to us, even with our own healthcare system, right? So that preventative concept is foreign to us. Ashley, 100%. It's, if you could catch people before they've, like you said, they've gotten into that situation and where a felony is hit them, or whatever consequences has put people back, right? And that in itself is just not funded. We fund the treatment of the end. You know, we fund the end result. We don't fund when you start noticing the behavior changes, right? Or the things that are consequential, like, oh, you're missing your job, because we're so scared to involve ourselves in those aspects, because that preventative side isn't what the measure of what addiction looks like in this day and age. It's what the end result is.
That's true. And then I think there's like this unconscious bias towards this need to hit a rock bottom, that we hold this thing subconsciously within us, and we think, oh no, I'm okay because I'm not hitting rock bottom yet. But what you're talking about is so vitally important when we're talking about changing the conversation and the narrative around, you know, addictions and mental health and recovery and what all of that looks like. We can start earlier than the felony, earlier than the arrest, earlier than the overdose, and continuing to talk, I think, of like this, and create a new subconscious, you know, way of believing is maybe how we do that. Like, you know, different wording, just the slightest little changes of things. Man, what a great conversation here. Great conversation.
It's being able to, like you said, Elsie, it's being able to have it's starting somewhere. It's in having the conversation, because for so long it was the fear of having the conversation because of the stigma that would follow behind it. And we aren't talking many years ago.
No.
I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, I'm 40, almost 45 years old. It wasn't long ago where these conversations did not take place.
No, I'd say 5-6 years ago, if that.
Right.
If that. Yeah.
Right.
You live in Florida, there's still stigma.
There definitely is.
Elsie's in the Bible Belt too, and Brett's in Texas, so they understand.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's stigma still everywhere, but it's just, I think the big thing that I've been grateful for lately is I think law enforcement has taken a different approach, and I think that their opinion has changed on, it used to be let's throw them in a cell and throw away the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, I mean, I've seen a very big shift in that recently. And I'm really, really proud of law enforcement for coming around and being open to maybe this
Yeah.
can be something we as a community work together on.
Absolutely.
To speak on that, I just the other day I had a meeting with Sergeant Mora of the Orlando Fentanyl Task Force, and we talk a lot, just because of just how bad things have gotten, where you actually need a task force, right?
Yeah, I was
On
just
one
thinking
aspect of drug,
a task force.
right?
Wow.
But they run into an issue where they're on the streets. They're seeing where it's taken Narcan 12 milligrams to get people back up and going again, and that doesn't always hold them. So in the Narcan program that I help run, we get a lot of. I want to make sure I target certain areas, and I work with him a lot too. And I was able to get them over 100 some odd units because they hit the streets. They're the ones that are administering it. They are that front line. It's it's those frontline responders that he's like, yeah, we just don't have the Narcan that we need.
Wow.
Wow. But to talk about it and the way we talk about it, wouldn't even think he was a police officer, because he sent me people that I've gotten into treatment. He sent me people that I've, helped their families out. And just you get, when you have officers like that, they are peace officers. They're bringing a different perspective to things.
That's amazing. The shifts that we're seeing, just because of, honestly, the work that we've all been putting in bringing these conversations into the light, and putting our boots on the ground and going to these places. What would both of you say, you, in each of your opinion, has been one of the biggest defining moments of the shift, like with law enforcement, them being trained through that war on drugs? What do you guys think the shift has been? Is it a closer bond with humanity? I mean, what do you all see in your day-to-day being part of the reason of that shift?
I can go first if you want.
Go ahead. Yeah, of course.
I think it's hitting them closer to home. I think it's hitting their family members. I think that it used to be, it was those criminals, and they were going into neighborhoods that maybe weren't so great and seeing it more. Now it's their kids, it's their brothers and sisters, it's their son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, like nieces, nephews. Like, it's people they've known their whole life that they know are good people.
Wow. Yes. Gosh. That's true, and that is intense. That's amazing.
I go to a grief group, for people that have parents, a lot of loved ones that have lost people to overdose, and I get a lot of I get people in there that are first responders, and I think, like Ashley said, it hits close to home, and it humanizes, the numbers. People go, okay, well, these people, well, hold on, this is my son, this is my kid, I lost this, I lost that. And it's actually putting, instead of it just keeping these numbers, we have a propensity to lose sight of the human side of it when we try to collect data on everything, instead of saying, oh, that number, that's somebody's child, that's somebody's cousin, that's somebody's brother. And I think the officers have to live in some mindset of that, or it becomes so traumatic. Yet when it hits so close to home, it has nothing. There's no choice. It slaps them in the face.
Yeah, and this conversation, this is precisely why I just know that the recovery community is positioned to help shift the consciousness of our global society, our collective, us as a human collective, because we are being shown time and time again that there is no discrimination when it comes to addiction and death and mental health deaths. I mean, everything that we fight against so much and we stigmatize so much is teaching us, back to us, that it doesn't discriminate. While we, especially in our country, spend so much time hating another person or judging another person based on something that just keeps divinely being shown to us is not discriminatory. And that division between us seems to be what keeps these death traps, if you will, continuing to grow and bigger. It's almost like we're being asked to pay attention. You know, it doesn't have to continue to get so bad, but we're being asked to pay attention to what's really important, and that's the human being in front of you. You know, that's the human being that we are together and collectively. And we waste so much time. This you will y'all will have to excuse me. I've been on a uh a study for the last couple days because I do another show, and we're doing this on Jim Crow laws in the South. And,
Oh
and
wow.
it's just been honestly so eye-opening to see how these bigger things that are so catastrophic in our lives are showing us that we need each other, regardless of our skin, our preferences, our genders, our jobs, our, you know, social class. We need each other. And how much further, I mean, how much louder does this have to get before we wake up and realize we need each other? I think it's just astounding.
It's a divide and conquer. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, and I say that, and I mean it from the perspective. It's easy if we looked at this from a perspective of human to human. We all are suffering from this, but everybody always wants to take it and break it down, and that breaking of it down takes it away, and then takes it out of the communities, takes it out of this, takes it out of that,
Yep.
and it changes the way. It's no different for someone else in another community because of the color of their skin.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it. They suffer the same way. Parents suffer the same way. The addiction's still the same way. The same results can happen.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Well, in reality, the most likely person to die of an overdose is a white male
yeah,
between the ages of 25 and 40,
Wow.
or maybe 50. And I saw Tyler said that only 10% received treatment. And according to the stats in Florida last year, 94% of people that reached the criteria for substance use did not receive treatment.
correct.
So
Wow.
less than 10%.
Wow.
That
And
in itself is when you think about it, right? You think of the people that we've seen in the rooms, we see all the places, we see they're in recovery, all the other people out there that are just not able to perceive it. It breaks my heart. It seriously does. You know, and go ahead. Sorry, Ashley.
no, you can go ahead. He was just talking about the economic costs of substance use disorder. So I pulled out my economic benefits of long-term recovery. So 83% reported having a compensated, stable job as a result of long-term recovery. So 83%. 2 times as many individuals in recovery pay their bills on time and repay debts compared to those in active substance use disorder. 93% reported having access to a banking system compared to 80%, which is the national average. So 93% of people in recovery had access to a banking system versus people without substance use disorder. It's 80% is the average. 2 times as many individuals in recovery start their own businesses compared to individuals with active substance use. 84% of people in long-term recovery report paying taxes compared to the 67% of people beginning their recovery. 4% of people in long-term recovery report good credit standing compared to the 58% of people beginning their recovery. And 92% of people in long-term recovery reported planning for their financial futures compared to the 77% of people beginning their recovery.
Yeah. I can say it's only been 10 years ago since I stepped into recovery that I actually had a successful bank account. You know, like I did not plan to live as long as I did, and therefore, you know, did not miss. And I remember watching people, like watching my family get a paycheck on Fridays and just wishing I could have that normal life where I could work and get a check and pay my bills and have things that were luxuries like toilet paper and different things like that. You know, I mean, those are amazing statistics. So true.
Someone brought up and I just saw it go across that treatment is not, it's different for everybody, right? One
Yeah.
size doesn't fit all, and it's something that could not be any more true. And that I've always said to people, okay, how'd you get there? I said, my story is my story. How I got there is I would love for you to get there the same way, but sometimes it takes different roads.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes different trials and tribulations. I was very thick-headed. It took me very many treatment times and treatment, but something stuck. I tell people, you'll know when something hits. It might not be the last time you use, but it'd be the last time it feels that way.
Man,
You know what I mean?
that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good and so true.
So Houston, why don't you tell what made you start your foundation and how that whole thing started? Oh,
Okay.
by the way, on the side note, so I got into advocacy because of Houston. He put me on a
Wow.
panel with moms that had lost their children
Wow.
to opiate use disorder, and just hearing them and just how they rallied around me, and just I wish my daughter or my son, could hear your story. I wish they had hope. And it was like, okay, so people need to hear hope, and that's what started me. So if I
Wow.
advocate or do anything, you can thank that man right there.
Thank you, Houston. Thank you.
Well, as you and I were discussing, us seeing Brett, Ashley's amazing. She's been such a positive force since I've started a lot of my advocacy and being a part of my foundation. I talk to her. We talk a lot, especially here of late, about collaborating. But so when I first started the foundation, I really was the idea I wound up in a treatment facility. That was my big idea, because that's what my father and I were going to do together. My father's grand idea, which I would have loved to have done it with him, but he passed early, in life. And I know he's looking down and happy with what I'm doing, I think I said at the beginning of the podcast, it's what can I do to bring the most impact to the most people in a positive manner over the longest period of time. And that's when I started the foundation. I brought in someone that Ashley and I now work. Ashley knows Peter from Solutionize, and we brought in these concepts of community care and what does that look like, and where do we have most of our issues, and considering that 95% of all the care that takes place in recovery takes place in the community, right? You can go into a doctor's office and he can write you a script, but if you don't take the medication and you have family following you, if you don't have family following you, which are, guiding you through that path, people wrapped around you, all the good parts of that, and holding you accountable.
Yes.
I didn't get into recovery until I was held accountable.
Amen.
My actions had to be said, no, you have some shitty actions,
Yeah.
right? What you're doing are hurting a lot of people. And then it's being able to come to terms with those actions. And so it's being very true to the individuals that I help in recovery. I have a lot of people that don't like my approach, but at the same time, it's a life or death situation. And when you're trying to do it, when I'm trying to help people that are in the community actively using or trying to stop using and in and out of relapse from one drug, and they've got kids involved. Like I'm working with 3 moms, and one of the mothers had a baby in jail, and so you think about the severity of what's going on in the situation. So the foundation came about of in my opinion, necessity. And it evolved over time into what it does today. It helps people that are looking to get help and that want help, and it follows them through life. Like this past year, I've had 2 people. I got 1 person hit a year of recovery already, and then other people are on that spectrum somewhere. And it's all because, you know what? I gave him a hand in the sense of, all right, let's walk this together. You got problems? Let's talk about it. Let me find the people that can help you talk about it more. Let's get you in the rooms. Let's get you wrapped around services. Let's get you a job. Let's get you a career. Let's put some of that pride back with, you want to feel what pride is. You want to feel that reason you get up in the morning. That's what we start instilling back of individuals with the foundation. And it really shows in the way that they attack their work. Those statistics come from exactly what we're working on. It's real life situations. It's getting them bank accounts. It's working all that stuff. It's working everything. And it's not looking at one thing greater than another. It's looking at the totality of the individual to be able to say, all right, now you're taking the proper steps to long-term recovery.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
It's that purpose. Like
purpose. Yep.
I don't know if your stories are, but the more I hear people's stories, it was like somebody believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and they believed in me until I believed in myself. No matter what the situation was, I hear it over and over. It's that, like the foundation for recovery is hope, according, SAMHSA, and then community, purpose, health, home, right? Those are the four.
What we use.
So it's like purpose is huge. And
yeah. Purpose will pull you through on days when the pain just wants to take you over. Purpose gives you that why to keep moving through, to fight for that.
And I'm going to do it for me.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm not going to let the person down that believes in me, that thinks I'm great. Like I'm going to, I might not be ready to do it for myself, but that's a powerful thing. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Houston.
No, I was sorry. One thing that I look at recovery this way. It's still being able to do the things that got me here in the first place and not even blink an eye to be able to do it. And I'll give an example. And this is what works for me. So when I go to one of my things was I had to take drug tests all the time, right? Just accountability aspect of everything going on. I look at it as I'm building recovery, capital recovery in that regard, right? I still to this day take urine tests, and it's for nobody else but me. No one else cares anymore. It's 7 years down the line. They know how good I'm doing, but it's just to build that. If anybody ever has a question, I don't mind showing that, because I know that I had so many years of doing the wrong way that I've got a lot of years to showing that do it the right way to go. Right? It's not that you just get out of it and everything's great, we moved on. It doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where I get that's where I tell people, I said, you're a year out. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. And you should be proud of yourself. How I feel about you should have no significance, but it does, right? Because I work with the individual. But when you look at it, they're looking for my approval. So we got more work to do, because it's got to be your approval of yourself. It's got to you be taking that self-esteem, running with it, and then building that into something special, right? Building that into you. What does you look like? And that's taken, and that's a building process.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little passionate.
Love it. No, love it. There's so many. I think all of us sitting here just sharing that, to where I feel it when when you're saying that. Like I feel it. My heart just swells, because I know it's the truth. And to say there isn't one way that helps people, helps all people find their recovery path, but there is really one awesome set of ideas and things that run through us all, like the power of purpose and the power of accountability. And there are some core things, that seem to be common themes in our lives, and maybe that's the place which I'm grateful for this Recovery Out Loud, because that seems to be the parts of our stories where we focus in on how alike we are, even amongst our different details. Hope, purpose and, transmutation of pain. And you're talking about right now something that's so close to my heart, which is that radical self-acceptance, that place where you find that divine aspect of yourself, where it doesn't matter if your family believes you're in recovery or not this time.
Right.
You're there, and eventually they have no choice but to believe it or move out of the way, because your actions are now showing that, and your vibration changes, your life changes. So yeah, great,
You
amazing.
know, yeah, I get the question often, and with my bio, it's the surgeries, and I've almost died a few times and had a lot of close times with the drugs, as we've all had. And they ask, would you change anything? And I really wouldn't, and I know that people go, really, you would? No. I got a beautiful life. I like the humility I bring to things, because I think it allows me to relate to all kinds of different situations and different people. And because it makes me relatable,
I agree with you.
I'll tell you before, I would, I'm glad I went through those pains, to become who I am, so.
You know what it does, like, for me, is everything was always like so black and white growing up, or when you're taught right and wrong, and everything is either right or it's wrong. And going through hard times and falling down and getting back up, like, it gives you this empathy that the world is really, really gray, a lot of different shades of gray, and who knows what the right answers to 90% of things are. I mean, like, I saw Tyler's comment about sometimes you have to cut off the addict until they're ready to help themselves. And I don't know that I agree in every situation. I agree that if they're hurting you, then you have to have your own boundaries. And I agree financially that that's probably a good idea. But, parents, I've seen parents go to, like, Al-Anon and stuff, and they tell them, cut them off and, stop being codependent and stop enabling. And it's like, if somebody wants to feed their child food, like, I'm sorry, but that's a human right. Like, they should be able to still talk to their child and have, maybe they say, I can't finance you anymore, you can't live in my house, but we'll meet at the park every day and I'll make sure you have food. Or I've seen parents want to keep their kids' cell phone on because it's the only way they know their child's alive is by the fact that their cell phone signal is being used or moving around. Or so, I mean, should they turn it off? Like, if that's what makes them be able to sleep at night, like, and we have such a dangerous drug supply. There's all these, like, harm reduction stuff, and it's like, should people be able to use in public? I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to this. I know that recovery is possible for everyone. I don't want to put kids at risk. I don't want to, but there's simple harm reduction things that don't put anybody at risk and treat somebody like a human being and really increase their chance of recovery. So I don't know. Like I said, recovery's made life very gray.
Actually, you need to walk in those eggshells of those conversations of having where, you talk about harm reduction and what that looks like before. Like, I look at it and I'm proud of the recovery community, how far it's come, right? In the sense that we can have these conversations and they could come out, instead of it being, no, I'm against all of it, right? And these hardline, I remember being hardline meetings where you're just like, wow, this is militant, And we've all been to them, right? I've been to meetings all across this country, and I go, wow, I don't know if I don't agree with it, but I respect what you're saying, right? And it's be able to have the conversation so that we can come to some aspect of, if it works for that individual, who am I to say? Who am I to say? It's that differentiations that make us so unique in life. If we go to our recovery, those differentiations don't change, right? They're not going to change for someone's recovery. And so it's hard when we look at it with law and everything else, because you're looking at the totality of humanity and how it's going to adversely impact or positively impact them. when it comes to this, it's not easy. But
No.
if it helps somebody recover, listen, I don't care what you got to do. As long as it's not harming somebody, just get through it, man.
Absolutely.
To me, stuff like fentanyl strips are no brainers. Who does that hurt? That hurts nobody. It's not giving someone drugs. It's not. They were going to use anyway. All it's doing is, and I hear over and well, they're testing to make sure it's fentanyl because they want to use it. They're going to use it whether they test it and it shows up that it's fentanyl or not. So those people are not the people we're worried about. The people that it is the 14-year-old kid, it's their first time trying something, and or it's, hey, I know my parents taught me I'm supposed to just say no, but my friends are kind of pushing me, but I do have this strip, maybe I can just test it, and if it is not fentanyl, then I don't feel as dangerous. And then they find out it is fentanyl and they don't try it, or they tell their friends, look, that's not what you thought it was. It's not a gummy. It's there's been and there's been a huge shift in just with naloxone too. Where are people dying? They're dying in their house or their friends' houses. They're dying in residences. And if there's a lot of young adults and even adolescents, and it's almost, if you have people at your house, you really need naloxone, whether you think you do or not.
It comes down to that, do we just continue to talk about the safety of our kids, or do we listen to people that are giving true ideas about safety of kids? We spend so much time talking about trans kids and LGBTQ plus kids and all this stuff that's dangerous to kids, but yet we're not talking enough about what you're talking about, things that are really killing these kids, because what history proves, there's not one of us sitting here that did not experiment with some type of drugs or alcohol when we were teenagers. It don't change. They're going to do it. So do we want to just talk and spout out that we want safety for our kids, or do we want to really get in and do something?
If you have naloxone at your house, who does it hurt?
Exactly.
Great. It expires and you never have to use it. That's wonderful.
Right.
Amazing.
Amazing.
That's the best thing ever.
Absolutely.
You have to use it. It's there. I don't understand.
Ashley and I were on a call. It was with the parents we were on with, and the amount of parents that said they had Narcan in the house but didn't know what it was and were scared to use it was staggering. And I hear it so often, and they're going, we just didn't know what it was. We didn't want to hurt them more. And I'm going, that's that education. That's that lack of education. That's that fear of, well, my family doesn't need it, so why do I need it in my house? Or, I still hear that. I still hear that with family members that have lost people. Well, that's my wife's kid or whatever, or my aunt's kids. That's not mine. Or they differentiate it because they don't want to have that tough conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're all parents as well, and so there's this this subconscious thing well, we don't need it in this house, this blind eye. I've raised my kids better than that. Well, it's not a moral. That's what lends itself to that moral shame, that failing. It has nothing to do with that. It could be a one-time experiment and child's gone. It's not a moral failing to push the boundaries of human existence. That's what we're made to do as humans. And that's just some of the information here tonight has just been staggering to me. The fact that even what you just said, that it's in the house and someone was afraid to not to hurt them more. That's
you're blue. The
like
kid's
you said,
blue.
Education though.
Yeah.
Education though. I keep a fire extinguisher in my house. Does that mean that I think my house is gonna burn down, or I plan on my house burning down?
Right.
No,
We don't live
if
like
something
that.
happens, I have a way to put the fire out. Hopefully.
It's preventative.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Great analogy.
To bring it back around.
I don't ding the bell for myself.
Ring the bell for yourself. Ding.
Well, and here's
Great
something
analogy.
too to think about, and a lot of people don't know this, and I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast before, is that So you can go to CVS, right, and you can get naloxone.
Mhm.
But the problem is that then you do pay the full price. And here's the other thing is that if you get it through your insurance, there's been some issues with life insurance and stuff like that because it looks like you're a substance user, like even if
Yeah.
you're doing the preventative. So, get it from a community resource. There's a lot of people in the community. There's mail, depending on your states, there's RCOs everywhere. Like nobody, like when we train, we just take the zip code. Nobody knows who gets it. No one knows who has it in their house. And it's free. Like it's free for the person giving it. It's, obviously nothing's free in life, but they don't pay anything. And that's something, like a lot of people don't know. And I would hate for someone to go and get it preventative and then have a problem later. Oh, we see you got naloxone on your insurance and we don't want to cover you for health insurance because you're high risk, life insurance because you're high risk.
That's a great point.
It is a great point.
Yeah, it's a great point. Because you're right. And I just heard a commercial going to work this morning about, and maybe this will in an inadvertently way help us in this, because I heard a pharmaceutical company advertising, if you want to quit drinking, if you're just sober curious or you think you have a problem, they're now prescribing naloxone for that. So, it seems to be, even though there's so many people dying of, alcohol has been a huge problem and source of a lot of things, that maybe it almost becomes more accepted. Yeah, I had the same look on my face this morning too. I was thinking, how does that help you with that? But it was a commercial and I thought, okay, well, now we're finding new things to do with naloxone that's a little less stigmatized because, everybody drinks, according to, the media, everybody drinks. And so instead of them using wording like, if you are addicted to alcohol or your life's unmanageable, it was, if you're sober curious and you just want a little help or you just want to not drink for your health, naloxone. And I was, oh, okay. Well, maybe this is a win for us in some kind of way. Whatever helps take the stigma away. But I don't know how it works.
Marketing campaign on that one.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Well,
Jeez.
alcohol is one that's deaths have, I think it's what, a 50% increase. Like it's, way bigger than opiates. Like, but opiates are what's in the news. But I think like 90,000 people
die from complications, right?
Yeah. And so and like a year ago it was like 45,000. Like it's where opiates, I think it was like 80 something and went to 100 and something. Like it was, the increase on alcohol was dramatic.
People are hurting.
During times of despair,
Yep.
alcohol deaths and suicide go up, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen skyrocketing in both those areas.
Yep. People are hurting. Hurting humans. We'll find a way to ease pain.
They will. I did.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
You know. Oh, look, good intense talks, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great information going through here. Like I'm just really full in my spirit. That's so much. I've learned so much just sitting here tonight. I think, Ashley, you brought up something that I've thought about in my entire life and through my entire recovery, and no one else has ever voiced it, but it's that whole black and white, how life operated in black or white. It was all reaction, trigger, react, and to really realize that life is gray. The brain is gray matter. It's gray, and there's so much gray in the world. And I appreciate you speaking about that. That resonated with me deeply. Thank you so much.
Our brains are amazing. Like they can be wired. They can do so much. It's like, it's mind-boggling to me that we are letting this happen. Like, because it is preventable. It is treatable. It is like, it doesn't have to look like this.
So much.
I mean, if we can rewire someone's brain after a TBI and they don't remember anything, that's
Right.
like,
Wow.
I mean, EMDR does some amazing things. Like, I mean, the reason
Yes.
most of this stuff is trauma.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
There's so many like treatments that work.
Absolutely.
EMDR. I did EMDR quite a
I'm doing.
while.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It
It
is.
it changed my life.
Yeah,
It
I'm doing
really
it
did.
now. Yeah, I'm doing it now with all my other healing. And I've just even in all the healing modalities and things that I've done over these past
Mm-hmm.
working on 10 years, EMDR is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone out there hasn't tried it, or is on the fence about it or wants to know more, look into it because it just truly is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
It changed my ability to function again in a lot of ways. It really did with all the trauma, Because I remember where with all the surgeries I had and near-death experiences, I hit a breaking point where mentally everything switched. I actually remember the point where I started using the substances for the different purposes. Right? I was like, oh, that OxyContin looks good because I need to go outside. Right? It wasn't because I was hurting anymore. It was always something different. I remember that. So, and to be able to have something that can truly change the way that you operate with trauma, with all those, it was amazing. I remember that sleeping for a very long time after my first couple sessions. It's such a change. It was changing,
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
Well, there's been so much good stuff tonight. One of the things I do want to point out is that one of the cool things I think about Houston's program is when we went to the Magic game, he told me how he wanted people to like be able to experience things they hadn't experienced in their lives and have fun. And so like he does different things with them that are like different that they've never done before. I think you said you took a couple people to the Magic games, right?
Wow.
Yes.
So as a player, like, can you imagine you're like new in recovery and someone takes you to a Magic game because they want you to experience something fun? Like,
wow.
There was kids I work with, and I like RC cars, so I bring kids around to work on RC cars. You know what
That's
I mean?
awesome.
And it's
That's
just
awesome.
why not? Listen, it helped me. I had to find something to channel my energy into, like we all do. We're on a podcast,
Yeah.
right? So I found it, and it tapped into another side of my brain with the engineering side and the way to put things together and the way things work that I had never known or even thought of. And then my 4-year-old son and I now bond over those aspects of it. For me, it was sports all the time. Sports. If it didn't involve that, then I most likely wasn't going to be involved in it. And now it's nice to be at 45, realizing that growth is still possible, and you still appreciate things like you almost in wonderment, like you're a kid again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a cool feeling, man, and I like to be able to watch people go through those times. So
that's so awesome because there's no more just human than that. Just being happy to see someone else experience their own happiness. Man,
yeah,
that's that's awesome. That's outstanding.
This year has been life changing for me because I truly know where I will be, what I'll be doing for the rest of my years. Just because I think it's so important. To help others, regardless, doesn't make a difference. It has to happen. I see humanity is this beautiful process. We all can work together, and I see us, if we can work together better, then the talks of preventative nature of addiction is there. We can start working on that. But it's being able to have these conversations, being able to take people out, do different things, see the different sides of it, that maybe what I'm doing is not the right thing. Maybe, Having to drink through a basketball game is not something I have to do, because that's mostly what it is. It was taking people out that had never gone to something that they weren't under the influence. It's appreciating that again, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's been interesting. It's self-reflection and all the beautiful aspects of that.
That's outstanding. Man, recovery rocks.
It does.
Love it. I just love it.
So what was it like being the son of a doctor and then having to go through treatment and coming out the other side? Was there like a different stigma to that?
I think in the beginning, my father, in the beginning, it was wrapped around my surgeries. So it was, I think it's like any physician, and then with your kids, they enmesh themselves. At least my father, I'll say it this way: my father enmeshed himself in that, and that became his overriding force to try to fix that. Right? I became a patient of my father's, which they tell you never should happen. And it was easy, I think, in the beginning to talk off the medications because he's taking care of his pain, and then when I started going to treatment, I was getting treatment for the pain. Then after a while, I think it just became, it's tough. He did not like talking about it in the community. It was not something that we talked about. My mom was different. It's bring things to the surface and let's look at them. But my parents divorced when I was young, so that in itself has its own trials and tribulations. And then you add in starting addiction at a young age. My father being a doctor definitely played a different role in how things were perceived in the community. Made it difficult sometimes to, I think it, and not for any fault of our own, we do it, we know. In fact, last night, it's funny we're even having this conversation, but I haven't been to my father's grave since he died in 2015. And I took my son there last night for the first time. Don't know why. All of a sudden, we were in DeLand, and I'm like, you know what? I just saw my brother Tyler, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go see my father's grave. And it was something that I needed to do for myself. But the point being is that it made it difficult to get into recovery or just even start the process because I didn't think I had a problem, right? It was blinding, that issue. My family saw it. My brothers would say it. My mom would say it. But, it was easy to sit there and listen. Like, listen, this guy's a doctor. He says I don't have a problem, So, but it took a long time. And at the end, it divided more than it helped. So, I think if that answers the question, Ashley, it was definitely tough.
It's a great question.
I think that a lot of people don't realize the rates that doctors suffer with substance use disorder. So I put it in the private chat, the link, but I couldn't find the thing to do it in the comments for the post. But it's like, I was reading the report the other day, and it's depending on the type of doctor, which type of substances they prefer. Like psychiatrists have a certain type, and like anesthesiologists have a certain type that they tend to use more. It seemed like, according to the report, surgeons and pediatricians tended to have lower rates of substance use disorder than other. But psychiatrists, I want to say, don't quote me, but I think it was sleep medicine was one that I can understand as they hear like some traumatic stuff, or and then was an anesthesiologist. I think it was uppers. I don't know. We don't talk about this, but and I don't know if the one I sent you was the one that talked about how many doctors actually came to work under the influence of substances. Like they did a polling of doctors, and it was a high rate that had been to work under the influence.
Oh yeah. My father was big on, and my mom was too. My mom was a lobbyist and worked with the Florida Medical Association and did a lot with physicians and physicians impairment group to start putting in restrictions and followings and systems to help when they did get into recovery to help follow those people, right? And so it's a big issue, you know. And I actually, when I was in treatment the last time, I had a friend of mine just was in medical treatment, and the doctor that did he had pancreatic cancer, and he was up in Shands getting surgery, and the doctor that did his surgery came into the same facility we were in for alcohol abuse or alcoholism. So, and he said it, you know, that he had been, you know, 50% of the time under the influence of alcohol.
Wow.
So that's just that freaked me out. I'm thinking, wow, and I've had a lot of surgeries, you know. But it is not uncommon. Well, why do we think it would be? Why do we think a profession would be immune?
Right.
You know, why would lawyers have problems? Everybody has problems. It's not immune. It's not going to stop just because you have an MD behind
A title.
it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
A
make a
title.
difference.
Yeah. An identity is an identity is an identity.
Exactly.
But it's beautiful that it does bring up those places within us where we can also see that unconscious type of programming where we, you know, just automatically go to that place where we think that these people are supposed to have different issues or not these issues. I think it's amazing to be presented with that stuff within us, because if you don't see it, we can't heal it or transmute it or, you know, or move through it and open our minds. But, you know, so that's tremendous to think about.
Can you do me a favor? Can you bring that comment up there?
Which one?
The one with Stephanie, 2 months from each other.
Yeah.
So that brings me to a story. My wife, Julia, is in recovery, and she started a year before I did. And we met in treatment. Now, obviously, the taboo that goes behind that, we all know that those don't work, and they don't. I'm telling people they don't. But I was a select one that got through, I guess. But in order for that to work, it took the family. I wouldn't be here unless my family was here. And I think that's what draws me every time, you know, home, health, community, purpose. At home, it's your family. And, you know, whatever that is, people can make a family out of anything because that's what it is. It's people that care about you, that are going to follow you, that are going to, you know, be able to say to you, hey, check yourself. You need to do something different. And that's what happened. And he said, listen, check yourself. If you all are going to be together, and I'm putting this much nicer than my family said it, then you need to take time apart. And we took a year apart, and they still weren't happy when we got back together, but it took time, you know, and now they have a great relationship with my wife. But I always say that if you show recovery long enough, you force people to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Beautiful.
Because it's unfair for us to think that families don't have to recover themselves.
Amen.
Right. And I think that gets lost in the milieu sometimes of understanding that recovery is just, it's an all-encompassing community problem. You know, it infiltrates our families, and then we get better, and then we go, well, why are you all taking so much longer?
Yeah.
You know, because you don't have recovery.
Right.
You know,
right. Yeah.
Gotta recover the same way that we do.
Yeah.
So,
oh, so good. So good. So good.
Yeah, we've talked about that several times in the show. There's so many of us that are like, you know, grateful for addiction, because without that we wouldn't have recovery, and we wouldn't be the people we are without recovery, and we would have never been the people we are today. So yeah, addiction stinks, but like it was part of the journey.
Yeah. And so
definitely
true.
part of the journey, man.
Yeah, and you said something that's so wonderful because it is true. You sometimes can get frustrated with the people around you that don't seem to be growing, like you're almost like hurry up, but you
Right.
have to remember they haven't gone to the, the brink of death or the, the bottom of the barrel like we have. And so, man, it's just reminded me again, be grateful for that. Like
Yeah.
Mm.
grateful for my time in the shit,
Yeah.
because wow.
I've been listening to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror in the last like
Oh
48
gosh.
hours, and it's like,
So wild.
there's people not eating. There's, like
Yeah.
we forget sometimes that we have so much to be grateful for.
Mm. Mm.
Look at the gifts, not the things we didn't get.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Whatever you look for, you're going to find. If you look for
Woo.
things to be mad about, you're going to find things to be mad about. If you want to find things to be hate people for, you're going to find them. If you find gifts, if you find things to be grateful for, if you find hope, like that's what you look for it, that's what you're going to find.
That's so true. That's so true. And to say just to
Yes.
Justin it being at 2 months, that's that. If I ever say that one thing really, really changed my life, even before abstinence, came into the picture, it had to be starting with that gratitude practice when it was just one thing. And what Ashley's talking about, and at 2 months, in recovery, this is when recovery really, really gets good and started because now you can, start making some practices. And if there's anything that I can say to you, Justin, is really begin like a gratitude practice. If it's just one thing, like right now in the comments, my wife has been a big part of my recovery. There's some gratitude to be had. And it's not just to be grateful for a person or a thing or a place or a situation, but it's to begin to start to rewire your brain, to begin to start to find the positive things in life, to change the perspective, your filters, if you will, and how you see life. And it just begins to broaden, man. I mean, it just really starts to grow outward. And it's not this big one punch thing and everything changes. It's a gradual process that eventually you just get to a place where you're not suffering in the same way that you were, because you're not looking for that. Like Ashley said, you're not looking for that anymore. You're looking for those things. So
Remember
congratulations,
punch
2 months.
buggies? Like when you went on that road trip and you're looking for punch buggies, like you
Mm,
find a bunch of them, right? Like
yeah.
when's the last time you saw a punch buggy?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because you
Another
weren't
good
looking.
analogy.
I think they're all in Cuba.
I bet you all of us, if we looked, would find at least one punch buggy in the next 24 hours. But if we were looking for it, but since we haven't been looking, we can't tell you the last time we saw one.
That's a good
So
point.
true. It is.
If
That's
you
a
look
great
for it,
analogy.
it's a damn good way to look at it. See, Ashley, you always nail me some profound stuff every time.
I know. I know. I know this woman just drops these lines and just mic drop. I'm out.
I'm out. She goes dark. See ya.
I'm gonna change your life right now.
There you go.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Michael Jackson punch buggies. I'm having some.
Yeah, you are just nailing it.
I'm like
pulling them out.
Well, I think I'm in the wrong. Like I should go back about 20 years, 30 years.
Right.
Amazing.
Oh, they're watching together. That's cute. I like it.
Good for y'all. Good
That's
for y'all.
special.
And good for her to be there and to, like stay able to be in this relationship with this human being, because it's not easy on either side, for the person that's there, for the people that are standing by you. Everybody's got to be healthy. Everybody's got to take care of themselves, and get healthy. Each other, get healthy as individuals, and then you're better as a couple. Isn't
That's
that
a good
true?
one. Yeah,
I
that's
love
so
Pamela.
true.
I love that
I love her
Pamela.
too.
Gosh, she's amazing.
So before we go, Houston, do you want to tell everybody where they can find out about the Houston Forest?
Oh, please.
Please do.
Yes. Yeah.
Please do.
It's please go to htsporefoundation.org. It can tell you how to get a hold of me. If anybody needs Narcan, anybody needs anything like that, please, guys, reach out. If anybody is in my area, needs to reach out to the foundation for just anything, community care, needs to try to find services. One of the things that I love to that I do is for a living is I do community outreach, and I connect people with services all over the state and now country. So we are my database is getting ever bigger and bigger. So I work for a good organization that promotes being able to help people regardless of whether we get them into a treatment facility of ours. It's getting them treatment.
Outstanding.
And I think and whatever fits that person. And I think that's a special portion of it, but the foundation is going to be around for a long time because I plan on being around doing it for a long time. So,
I hope so.
but I appreciate you all having me on. This has been wonderful. I love talking about this. It's so important. So thank you.
Outstanding. Yeah, and remind us, and for those that are coming in maybe late, remind us where you are and
Sure.
what areas you service. And
I'm in Florida, Central Florida area. I work a lot in the Central Florida area, working to expand that throughout the state. I'm always looking to expand those areas. I grew up in DeLand, Florida, over by Daytona Beach. Ashley and I grew up in the same area. But I do a lot of work, pretty much from this lately. It's been coast to east to west of Florida, and then a lot down south. But it's forever growing. But I mostly in Central Florida area. So I know. And please reach out. I'm always here to help. So that I want other people to understand, and I have people that can help others too. So
it's awesome.
And we're building volunteer base, and that's the goal at this point with the new year. It's to build that volunteer base up so we can really start helping people all over, and not having to spread me so thin, right? But my wife appreciates that too. And it's, community care it's I think we'll see through the years, it's more and more important. I know I keep saying it over and over, but I believe it. It's where we are going to watch this change.
Yes.
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 We'll watch this change, and not in the treatment facilities, because the rubber hits the road when you leave.
Amen to that.
Right. So, and for people that go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, how can we leave it in the hands of people that financially benefit from repeat customers? I mean, not that all treatment centers are bad. I'm not saying that at all. But I mean, as regulatory and advisory, you don't have somebody looking over the business that prospers from the business. So
right.
Yeah.
There, the community has to be the ones doing it, because
that accountability that I talk about is that same accountability we need to hold our communities to.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to change the business model. Like the whole thing needs to change, and that's evident throughout our entire many of our policies and the way that our country is right now. Like, we have to shift this back to what's truly important, and that comes back to human connection, hurting and healing people. That's what makes up this whole system. It is our life force, our energy, and every person that's breathing breath is a part of that. And wherever you are in this entire struggle right now, if you're breathing in and out, there's a chance for you. There is a chance, no matter what, for you to live a life that you truly love.
Wonderfully said.
Amazing.
And there's different ways to do it. I mean, anxiety, there's anxiety medicine, but there's mindfulness, there's yoga, there's a million different ways. Just link in to your community and see what's there. Doesn't have to be medication.
Amen. I like that. Link in. That's awesome. I got a whole page of notes from you all here tonight.
Yeah.
Doggone it. Yeah. This has been very productive.
My quote is going to be communities that do yoga together, recover together. Or something.
No more. I'm not doing downward dog or anything like that.
Come
I
on.
like Pilates.
On camera. Get to it.
Those days are over.
Or walk. Okay. Communities that walk together.
There you go. We'll start there.
Sounds good.
Thank you for representing the magic tonight too, and the shirt. I appreciate that. That was quite nice of you.
And the 90s. Thanks for
And the 90s. And represent the 90s.
I'm all about the 90s today.
Yeah.
Me too.
Punch bugs. Jackson.
Yeah, when the magic were good.
When the magic.
Remember, that's how our conversation started.
I know.
That's great.
That's what you said. He said, I haven't been to a game since they were good. I'm like, that's been a minute.
Yeah, and then they won. They were on a losing streak, and and then they won like the next. We talked about it, like 5 out of 6, and now they got a taste of what it feels to win.
I know.
Houston was telling me all about all the players and which ones were cool and why. And
That's
see.
Yeah, because basketball was his game. Basketball was your game.
That was my game. Yeah.
Well, I understand it because I watched it back in the day, and I love sports, so it's not like I'm,
It wasn't foreign to you.
But I hadn't followed the Magic in a very, very long time, or any other NBA teams.
Hey, and let's remind Justin that Justin, you're already clean, man. You're already clean. Like, there is nothing there that implies that there's something dirty about you. And I know that's always been the language, and it's hard to move away from it. But you are clean, and regardless of of how things move forward and move on, recovery is not a perfect path. Recovery is about getting back up and just growing into that next moment and that next moment and that next moment. So don't ever think you're anything but clean.
There you go.
So.
And I took depression medicine for the first beginning of my recovery, and I felt so guilty about it. I was told not to talk about it, and
Me and MAT too.
It wasn't a controlled substance. Wellbutrin, it was just. But
yeah, it was like that for MAT. That's why I came out and really started talking about MAT and trying to mentor people in how to change their relationship with the medicine and let it be have it be different than the stigma has created. And I was told to be quiet, don't say anything about that, you're not really in recovery, you're not really this. I'm like, my life proves to me every day that I'm in recovery. You know what I mean? Like, it don't have anything to do with what's on the backside. Like my life presents to me that I'm in recovery. And there may come a natural time when your body says, okay, like, I'm healed to the point where I want to do this. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like the stigma just is killing people, for no good reason other than for one person to feel right and make another person wrong. Man, that's ego, and ego kills, man. Kills.
Ego and recovery just doesn't. They don't mix.
No, it don't.
And it doesn't. And I've been on MAT, and I'm a firm believer in it. It's what's kept me, and I am in recovery. But that's what I tell people. My recovery, that's not yours.
Right.
You don't get you have your opinion on it, but it's definitely not your recovery.
Amen. I'll let my life will speak for me,
Yep, damn right. No. I couldn't. No. Yeah.
Everybody's And the funny thing is, the people judging the most have the most secrets in their closets.
Amen to that, sister. Preach on, preach on.
Yeah, I think that's why I became an open book.
Yes.
You know, it just makes life. It made life so easy. I get people going like, "You probably don't want to share that." You know,
Pump the brakes.
stop the brakes, everybody. You know, I'm like, no, you're getting all of it. Floodgates are open.
That's it.
They can't use it against you if you tell them.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Full admission.
That's
Well,
right.
I'm sure Houston and Brett probably. I know Brett has a new baby, and Houston's got little kids. So you probably are ready to wrap it up too. I have to put mine to bed soon.
Oh,
Mine's 23. I feel so free here. I feel so free here.
If you're putting your 23-year-old to bed, we need to have a longer podcast.
I know, right? I'm putting him out of the house. Out. Man, I appreciate y'all.
Yeah,
so
and I was going to give Jason a shout out. He's not here tonight, but he is at the recovery night for the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I wore my Minnesota North Stars hat, even though I'm not from Minnesota.
Go, Jason.
Yeah, Jason.
We got to get this put together for the Magic. That's such good. That's so important. But good stuff, guys. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, are you guys ready to close out? Let's see if my music works this time.
Make it work.
Since it didn't work last time. Hey, I can hear it this time. That's cool. I don't know what I did. I reconnected things. That's when it like randomly shot up right at the beginning.
I fix things too. Turn it off and turn it back on.
Right. Let's
hit it with a hammer.
IT suggestion.
Unplug it from the back.
Well, mine's Bluetooth, so I repaired it. So, but we are on YouTube. If you guys are watching us over here on the YouTube channel, please be sure to subscribe, like, turn on the little notification bell so you know when we go live. Which for anybody that's new here tonight, that's every Thursday night at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Jason, who's not here tonight, he does his own show with Mr. Charlie called the Way Out Podcast. I do my own podcast. I'm currently taking a little bit of a break because, like Ashley mentioned, my wife and I just had another baby. But starting next week, I got some more episodes coming out starting next week. So every Wednesday, I drop an episode, and it has been coined as Morsels of Recovery because I typically keep my episodes at about 30 minutes or so, give or take, kind of smaller bites. So check that out. LC, you also have your own show, Recovery Soul Food. So be sure to check that out. And we also released the audio version of this live stream. So if you're getting on there and downloading these other podcasts, you can also find this as a podcast form as well. So be sure to check that out. We thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Thank you again, Houston, for coming on tonight, sharing with us. It was a pleasure, guys. We will see you all.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we will see you guys next Thursday. Pamela, who's been in the comments on the YouTube side of things, she is going to be our guest next week. Miss Pamela Topgin. I think I said her last name correctly.
You did.
I'm just going off of how I've heard LC say it.
Yay.
So I was hoping I got it right.
You got it, Bubba.
So Pamela is going to be here next Thursday night with us. It's going to be a great one, so be sure to be here. We will see you guys then. Remember, progress, not perfection.